Hello and welcome to another episode of What If It's Cool, the show where we talk about anything and everything that is cool in the world today. I am the dancing clown known as Daniel Paul Crow. On this episode, part 1 of my sit-down interview with Ronin Walker. We talk about how he got into tap dancing, how he got into Twitch and Twitch streaming, Discord, and we also talk about mental health. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you think it's easy, why don't you try it with Ronin Walker? Thank you so much for being part of the show. I know that you are very busy and we've had to reschedule this a couple of times this today because I know things have happened because, well, let's be honest, it's life.
Yeah,
Firstly, how are you doing, man?
I'm going really, really well. I'm super stoked to be here, and I'm so glad to be on the show. So thank you so much for having me.
Anytime, man. Like I've said to a lot of my guests on here, it doesn't matter if you're famous or not, or just up and coming, or have an interesting story. I want you on the show because I want to tell your stories because I know what it's like to not be supported and not have a voice, and I want to give people the voice out there. So, Chris Law, thank you for giving me the moniker "Voice of the Voiceless." So before we get started, one thing I have to give you kudos to. I love that little badge you got on your shirt.
This one?
Yep.
Yeah.
The Kiss Army.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got an actual logo that someone did, a really good mate of mine. He did it, and he got it referenced for that, and he goes, "How would you feel if you had a Ronin Army logo?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And he sent it to me, and it looks very similar to this. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, but when this episode comes out, we'll make sure we have that logo right here so we can, show what we're actually talking about. But for the listeners out there, sorry, you're gonna have to watch the video version, which is available on Spotify and on the YouTube channel. That's a cheeky plug. But yeah. So, firstly, I want to ask, tell me about your backstory. Because obviously we've just been talking off camera before, and you had an amazing story. You were somewhat, and that's why we have to get started because I was really excited. Talk me through it.
So before getting into the whole wrestling side of things, I'd like to dive into something that when I was 5 years old. So when I was 5 or 4.5, 5, I talked to my mum, and we saw in Australia on TV, the tap dogs, and they were like tapping on like crates and all sorts of stuff, and I'm like, I want to be one of those guys. I want to be a tap dog.
So did I back in the day. They were fantastic.
They did awesome work, and I actually got taught by one of those a bit later on, which I'll explain. Yeah,
really?
I'll explain that a bit later.
All right.
At the age of 5, I started to become a tap dancer and went to tap dancing classes and had concerts and all that stuff, which was really cool. And I was the only boy in class, so I had a whole bunch of girls in there, and then I had me for a while. Yeah. And then I think a couple of years into it, we ended up getting another little boy coming in. I taught him a little bit because he was shy and everything like that. But yeah, that's how I started doing with all that stuff. And I did that until I was about 21, actually, on and off. Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy.
What made you stop?
Money mainly. The travel was because I lived about 2 hours away from Melbourne. It was very difficult for me to travel, and it was just, and money as well. It was just hard. So I could have become a teacher if I stuck at it for like 2 more years, but yeah, it was just really hard to get there, unfortunately.
All right. Oh man, I'm just. I'm gonna out myself on this one. Jeez. Again, it's not the show's not about me, but I envied that you got to do that because when I was a kid, I was about 6 years old when I first saw Fred Astaire. And then obviously Gene Kelly with the Jerry video that they did years ago, which if no one's seen that, go check it up on YouTube. It is one of the best. I still think it's still one of the best choreographed dancers that I've ever seen. It's just fantastic because obviously, green screen, with animation, that was just
Oh
chef's
yeah.
kiss, as 211 would say.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
but, but like for you to do that and just keep it up for that long, that's really great. Yeah, my heart's broken a little bit that you told me that you couldn't do it anymore because
Yeah.
I love tap dancing and I wish a lot more people would take it up.
Yeah. Oh, it helps with a lot of stamina and stuff. So like especially when it comes to ring work, that would be a good thing to do, especially ballet. I did ballet for a couple of years as well.
Mm,
Um, and then in between that time of tap and ballet, I did strengthening exercises as well because I wasn't like the biggest dude. I'm only like 5'5", and I was like a skinny dude doing tap
mm.
and everything. And I wasn't allowed to do football for a while.
What?
Yeah, because of how my bones were developing
Yeah.
when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to do physical stuff like that
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
because
sense. Yeah.
I would have just broken I would have had broken bones and all that stuff.
Mm.
And because of me getting diagnosed with ADD, everything got too much. So a slight push and stuff from kids in playgrounds, I would start swelling up and crying because of that reason,
Mm.
which sucked because I didn't mind looking and watching football and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let me do it. And then by the time when I was going to do it, I couldn't do it because it interfered with dancing. So
Well, and honestly, and this is just me speaking out, I've done
mm,
football. If I had to pick between football and dancing, for me, I'm leaning toward the dance
mm,
because it's theater, it's just everything I wanted to do as a child. So, like,
mm,
as much as I love football, because I
mm,
come from a big footy family,
yeah,
uh, I don't know if it's tap dancing. I have to pick that. I pick tap dance over the way, and I can guarantee you this: my dad, who is the biggest AFL lover, biggest Geelong supporter as well, I should say, would have supported me on that because my dad loved dancing just as much as I did.
yeah. Well, my parents loved me dancing, and I they were so super happy for me to do that
Mm.
because it was something it's like I was getting better and better and better at it. Like it was so unreal how the dancing universe of that is like it's so different to anything else. And people like I got a story about uh me doing dancing. I was at grade 6
Yeah.
and I would get picked on so much for dancing, like from prime, like the year six, grade sixes, grade fives, and all that. Just getting picked on because I did dancing,
Mm.
and so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna show them what I can do. So I did. So every like the teachers, the principal, and myself, it got to the graduation day um, at the school assembly in the morning. So I'm like, they're like, how would you feel about doing a tap dance? I said, yeah, all right, I'll do one. I was
Mm.
nervous, but I did this tap dance, and it was complicated. I um, did like quick shuffles and like wings and stuff like that. So like the wings would you tap it twice, but you would have both legs go out, and then like the shuffles and all this other movement.
Mm.
And I stopped. Once I finished, everyone just gave me claps, even the guys in the back. That were just like picking on me, just going, "Oh yeah, cool. Oh yeah, look at this guy," kind of thing. And then after that, it was the principal asked me, he goes, "How long have you been doing that?" And at that stage, I think it was I think it was from 5 till about 12. I think it was at
Mm.
that stage. 12 or 13, I think. So it was quite a few years. And the principal goes, "So you need to actually practice it. And so you think it's really hard. So if you think it's so easy, why don't you come and like to the boys in the back?" They said, "If you think it's so easy, why don't you come and do it?" They've just kind of slouched in their chairs and gone, "Oh, oh." Yeah, so from then on, I actually, it's from then on, I never got picked on.
It's so it's so weird because like if we were to grow up now in
Mm.
today's generation, we probably wouldn't even get picked on. We'll probably get all the chicks, but by because we could dance. Because of obviously, now we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, where that side of the community now is
Mm.
more embraced. While especially like back because I know I'm older than you, but
Yeah,
but especially back then, like I couldn't tell people that I like tap dancing, I love musicals and all that stuff because like instantly I was going to get the living shit kicked out of me. I kind of feel like I want to grow up in this era now because of this, but at the
mm.
same time, it's just like, but that was the joy of growing up in that period because like I still love that stuff and I still think it's cool and
Yeah,
I still stuck to my guns. If someone found out that I liked it, I said, yeah, I like it.
yeah,
So what? You want to fight me? Okay, cool. Ah, come on.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's just crazy to go to reminisce on that sort of stuff. I actually it like so in interview it like this is my second interview, so I'm super grateful for it.
Hmm.
Um, it's just crazy that that so much like is evolved from like things that may not have been a the norm then is the norm now.
Hmm.
It's it's unreal.
There's so many things now that I don't think kids today understand how much we've evolved in firstly storytelling is one thing. It's
Hmm.
I still think storytelling in mainstream media, if
Yep.
it's like stuff that we're doing, it's definitely evolved because we're open to talking a lot more. When it comes to movie stuff, it's kind of gone okay, one a good idea like that.
Yeah,
But
100%.
just I like the fact that there's nothing really more that you can get picked on anymore for anything because you will find that somebody who's just as crazy as you to go, okay, you like this, awesome. You don't like that, that's okay. Look, we love this. Let's concentrate on that. And I'm so glad that today's youth don't have to go through a lot of the stuff that we do too. But obviously they still go through a lot of shit. But
Yeah.
that's a different conversation altogether. But I'm glad that stuff like this is now more open because, like I said, I love dancing. I love tap dancing, especially. Um, but I'm also glad that a lot more people are doing it more instead of staying at home and going on the internet, listening to podcasts. But by the way, I'm not saying don't listen to this show or watch this show because I definitely want the views and I need the exposure out there. So kids keep watching the show and keep listening. Um, so talk to me through. So obviously you stopped at 21.
Yep.
What caused that exactly besides obviously the money?
So travel is was another thing because we only had one car at that stage. I was living with my parents. We had one car, so my dad had to travel a lot for work and all that. So we had to kind of put everything aside just for him to be able to pay, like to able to earn money and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we had to step away and all that.
How did the guitar come into play?
So the guitar, I've learned that since I was a kid.
Mm.
So I've played the guitar. I've played. I actually started off as a keyboard player
Okay.
because my So well, we had a piano at our first house that we had, and I grew up in there for I think I missed out on 4 years in that house. So probably about 30 years
Mm.
lived in that house. And we had a piano sitting in the hallway. And Mum was getting difficulty trying to figure out this particular phrase in music. She wasn't great at music, but she would try.
Mm.
And that's all that mattered to us all. But Dad was the keyboard player and he had his own band. Um, and I went up to the piano and I started looking at the notes on like the music and stuff, and I
Mm.
pressed the buttons, and I got to the note where Mum was having difficulty, and I've just gone, "Hey, Mum, it's this one right here." And then from there I learnt the piano and learnt it at a decent decent thing. And then I stopped for a while because there wasn't like I didn't have a keyboard and couldn't learn much more for the time being. And then I picked up the guitar when I was a kid and I started off doing like the full power chord kind of stuff with like
As
the
you
one
do.
finger.
Hmm.
Um, and it worked well for a while. And then I started learning chords and all that. And yeah, from there I've done that. And I've also got a bass in the background. It's just hiding at the moment.
All right.
But yeah, and then I was a bass player for a band for a while. And yeah, and here we are. Pretty much. Hmm.
No, it sounds very similar to me. I started with piano and keyboard as well. I was terrible at it, and then like every 14-year-old kid, well, especially if you're a boy, you're like, oh, how am I gonna meet girls and just try to get more confidence. So like, I know I'm going to learn guitar. So I ended up getting a guitar, and I learned from two people. One was just your regular standard guitar work. The other one was
Yep.
classical.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
stupidly thinking, and this is what happens when you're 14. When you go to school, you think, okay. There's a guitar teacher, great. They're going to teach me how to, play Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Kiss, all that stuff. No, I'm learning Bach. I'm learning all different kinds of classical music, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to pick up girls like this, but I still kept at it because it
Yep.
was definitely cool. But just I wish I could actually properly play guitar because
Yep.
I like what you're saying. Power chords is a rocker's bread and butter,
Mm.
but you need to learn a little bit more than that, especially if you want to shred. And unfortunately, I can't shred.
Well,
Yeah.
with classical music, for instance, you can actually play a classical guitar to a lot of the guitar, like a lot of the guitar work now. It's crazy how something so small, in the grand scheme of things, can teach you years and years, like, and even decades of music
Mm.
just by classical music. It's crazy.
Well, if look, one of the best solos that AC/DC ever did was "Let There Be Rock," and it's just
Mm,
it's just simple scale, like it's
mm,
simple scales, but it so works. And if you look at some of the best guitars out there, like they actually have some elements of classical training, or they can actually play something that is classical, and it's great.
yeah.
But it doesn't help you when you're 14 years old and chubby, and you can't meet girls because you're playing classical music. Sorry.
I was I was a skinny dude and I had trouble with speaking to people. So I do understand completely.
Yeah.
Like I was the shy kid. I was classified as the shy kid. So I would kind of keep to myself. I would have friends and stuff, but I was just a shy kid, so I wouldn't talk much or do anything. I now I can just talk a brick out of a house because I can talk that much because of doing all this stuff now
Mm.
with wrestling and streaming and all that stuff. It's fascinating how one or two different things can change the not perception, but like change how you can develop.
Yeah. 100%. Like yourself, I was pretty shy.
Hmm.
But once I started doing music, once I started doing acting, yeah, like it sort of came out. I mean, pe people who know me, like really know me, they know I won't. You can't shut me up. I'm the Deadpool. I'm the Deadpool of my friend base because I just don't shut up. I say random, and I also will put out a random pop culture reference that nobody gets. Thank you, Marty, for reminding me that the other night. But yeah, but I think for people like us, like that, when we find that outlet, we do come out of our shell. But once we get really comfortable like that, that's when our real side comes out. I think that's the best because when we find that one niche that we can say, okay, I'm great at that.
Mm,
That's where the confidence comes out. Like for me back in the day, it was sport, but unfortunately, I was never that great at sport. And then when I found music and acting, that's where it really came out for me, and it was I feel for you, man, because I know what
yeah.
it's like. I definitely know what it's like. Now, before we get into the world of professional wrestling, I want to know this because you were the first one where I can actually start ask this one because I should have asked Marshall. I should ask Chris Law. Should have even asked 211 since he was on the show a few episodes ago.
Mhm.
How did the Twitch partner and Twitch streaming sort of come about? Because Whatever School has a Twitch account. I don't really use it that often. Bubs has been playing Minecraft on it recently, and even then, I still have no idea what exactly to do on Twitch. Talk me through Twitch.
Okay, so I actually, believe it or not, and I thank 211 for this. I was watching him starting streaming, and there was like I was contemplating in my mind ages ago before he started, I knew that he was streaming actually, and I'm like, I want to stream, but I had so many different people living at the house at the time, so the internet would have just been shoddy and horrible.
Hmm.
Um, but till people started leaving the house and living on their own, I was like, okay, this is it. So I started watching a whole bunch of different YouTubers and stuff. So 211 was the one who kind of like do it. Like
Hmm.
he's like, go and do it. Like, isn't I encourage you to do it. Like he was so vocal in, and he's been behind the scenes, and I thank him for it.
Hmm.
So kudos to him.
Hashtag
Um,
support your local wrestlers.
yes. um, he would help me with all the site, like all the stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So with with camera, with PC stuff, with all this other stuff, and he always goes, "What can you do to improve the stream?" And so you'll see him in his streams. He would improve doing little bits and pieces with his channel points, with all this other stuff. I I feel for him because in a way because he hadn't grown as much as he has that he has like he hasn't grown as much as he should be
Mm.
because he's brilliant. I love his work. I love what he does, and he's inspired me to do it. But I started off streaming on PlayStation when first started. I started streaming on PlayStation, streamed a few different things, started getting a few different followers from obviously wrestlers and mates alike, and
Mm.
even family. And then I got the affiliate program where I can actually start earning money with subscriptions and bits and all that stuff. Because
What do
before,
what do you need to get to there
so
exactly?
you need to get three viewers at least concurring, watching your stream at one time,
Yeah.
like during that month.
Hmm.
You need 50 follow. I think it's 50 followers. Uh, and you have to stream, I think, 8 times. Yeah, I think it's either 8 times, or 8 days, like in different during that month.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so every concurrent, like as long as you can get the concurrent viewers, the followers, and the streams, then yeah, then for that month, they usually give you a email saying, "Oh, you can apply," and then
Hey.
from there, yeah.
All right.
So it's actually really fascinating how it all works, and I just I do thank people like 211 and Josh Redfield and even Jackson Shepard for all those help with all that streaming stuff. So I do actually thank them for all like the help that they've given me streaming through that streaming process.
Mm.
I'm just grateful for I'm grateful for like family and like also my wife Leanne with all that help as well, and the people uh that I've actually talked to along the way, and it helped me grow as much as I have in a short amount of time compared to a few others.
Well, how long have you actually been doing the Twitch thing anyway?
So I started like most people, I started more in the pandemic side of things. So when the pandemic happened,
Mm.
I think I've been doing it nearly 3 years now.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have I'm nearly at 900 followers.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's from like being in different groups, like Discord groups and stuff. I actually had to leave one of those, unfortunately. But there's
Discord.
yeah, Discord groups.
Okay, hang on. Before we continue on that part, okay, this is how old I am, kids. Explain to me Discord because I keep being told I should be doing Discord stuff. I have absolutely no clue what it is. I keep and because the amount of people who keep telling me I should be doing Discord, I also
Mhm.
there's also the same number who tell me I should not do it. What is
Okay.
it and why is it toxic?
Disc so Discord stuff is like Discord is so think of it as Facebook and
Yeah.
Instagram and stuff, how people follow or join into this big group of like this room, for instance, like this room or your friend group or whatever. And it's basically putting out little statuses or little like you can make channel like little channel blocks and um like different pages
Mm,
on this one particular app.
mm.
And so everyone can just jump in there and they can keep updated with what you do if you don't post on social media and stuff like that. And you can just go, oh, before anyone gets to see what's on social media, you can go, this is the next episode or whatever like that. So you can give people plugs before everyone else gets to see it, kind of
Gotcha.
thing. Yeah.
Mm.
So you can post there or you can get it to immediately do its automatic posting if it's linked with Twitter or Instagram or something like that with different bot bots and stuff like that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a really good it's really good in that sense, but but the only reason why it's toxic, and this is like and coming from going into so many different groups, is because of the people inside that. So if you don't keep an eye on the people inside that, they and make sure that you trust all the people that are in there. If you don't trust all the people in there, then it can get really toxic.
Okay. Starting to make sense now.
You kind of have to moderate and look over everything that's been said or whatever. So, but for the most part, it's actually really handy for like myself, which I have one, and it's very handy for people to like if if they want to chat to me, they want to keep in contact with me a bit easier. Um, Sometimes I find it very difficult to go on socials, or I check socials. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got two messages, and then I'll type, and I'll get distracted doing something else, and then I'll come back and I'll just go, oh, what was I doing? Like it happens too much, and I've like I do apologize for the people that try to message me, and I just yeah, it's just I forget. So I'll go back and just go, oh, oh damn. Whoops. I'm sorry. That was like with it when you were messaging me by accident. It's not that I was that I it like not always it's not always distraction. It's like I have seen it. Something else had to get my attention first before I came to it.
Yeah.
And then I've just totally forgot that it was there.
Oh, look, I had a feeling that was the case, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, I'm just a upper starting podcast. He doesn't need to
Yeah.
talk to me, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that we've actually interacted proper, like
Yeah, it is.
ever. So
Yeah,
it's actually really good to actually have a chat with you, even if it's an interview. It's still good to chat
yeah.
and to actually catch up in that sense.
Oh well, we got the next APW show happening. It's happening soon. I'll probably catch up here there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's quickly go back to Twitter before we ask Twitter. I don't want to go to Twitter. Twitch.
Twitch. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously got into the program. And you were talking about Discords. What was it? I've lost the train of thought. What were we talking about there?
So with growth and all that, being in different Discord groups, um, I left one because there was a lot of change that I didn't like that was happening.
Mm.
Um, and I gave like I was giving them the benefit of the dad. Like I have no ill will against them whatsoever, even though some people might. I don't have any ill will against them, and I thank them for all the help that they've given me. That's the reason with like it growing to how many followers I've got is because of so many different discords. But like with those particular ones, I just like, look, I have to leave. I have to leave.
Mm.
And I don't think he was too I don't think the owner was too happy about me leaving. Um, but at the same time, it's like I got to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
I need to it like you they can people can only help you so far. You have to you have to grab what you can and keep going. Like learn what you've got
Mm.
and keep going.
Yeah, no, of course. I
Mm.
totally agree with that. And I understand where you're coming with that because, like, if you do feel uncomfortable, in any sort of sense, whether it be on social media, work,
Yeah.
any environment, you need to put yourself first. I mean, and I know some people say, but that's being selfish. But like sometimes you need to be selfish in this time in this world. So just so you don't crash and burn. And honestly, man, if that's what the route you want to take, I would 100% wholeheartedly support you on that one
Yeah.
for sure because it's not easy. Like social media is so good in so many ways, but it's so incredibly terrible in other ways. And um,
Yep.
yeah, and for people who are listening on this one, like make sure that you are putting yourself first because, like at the end of the day, uh, you've only got yourself. You've only got one life, and
Mhm.
we have to make sure that it is a good one. So yeah,
Mental health is such a big thing. Like, and I know that a lot of people struggle with mental health. It sucks. Like, I know that in the past, when I was just say I live when I was living in Melbourne, I think I was 24. I it started off well, but then I my mental health and my mental changed. Like just my mental changed, and I think being away from family uh made me made me feel depressed and all that stuff. And I didn't realize at the time. And I actually was losing weight too.
mm,
It was crazy. Instead of being like, say, 65 kilos or something like that, I lost like 10 kilos. I wasn't eating well and
oh
stuff like that.
man,
Yeah, like I lost a hell of a lot, and people and family was like, "You're not healthy."
mm,
I'm healthier now, which I'm grateful for.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like I didn't see that at the time, and I actually see it now because there's actually one particular spot that I there's one particular spot in where when I was living in Melbourne that is very blurry to me because I used to drink a lot um when I was in Melbourne, and like about a year and a bit more. And it was just nuts. Like I'm surprised I didn't do damage by how much that things were going down.
mm,
I thought that I lost a lot of family members in the sense of them not being there for me in that sense. But now it's like we've grown stronger and better than ever. It's amazing how much um, one change can fix all that.
yeah. Well, kudos to you for putting yourself first and getting yourself out of that right.
Mm,
And congrats for, quitting the drinking. You said you don't drink as much now, but
yeah.
um, yeah, it's when you go down that rabbit hole, it's very hard to come out of.
Mm,
And yeah, kudos to you, man, because like, yeah, it's a rough patch, and I'm glad that you're doing much better now. Glad
no,
to hear it.
thank you. Thank you.
That's the end of part one of the Ronin Walker interview. Part two will be debuting wherever you get your podcast at 9 a.m. this Friday. Want to be featured on What If It's Cool, or know someone who has an interesting story that needs to be told? Make sure to reach out to me. I can be reached on whatifitscoolbusiness@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Want more from What If It's Cool? Make sure to check out the YouTube channel where you can find the latest episodes of Mukbang Around, Reaction, and of course the podcast. And don't forget to follow What If It's Cool on all socials. It can be found at What If It's Cool. Keep that support coming. And until next time, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.